You know, are we losing our mind in this country? Are we going crazy? What's going on? Why would the Democrat Party endorse and agree with what she wants to do? You know, where are we headed down this road? This is crazy, folks.
If you want to call into the show, the number is 254-773-1400. That's 773-1400.
Yeah, I think we got Bill on the line. He's going to get us straightened out here. Bill, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead on.
Good evening. I was wondering on the subject of these deadbeat senators, why, I know you can't impeach them, but can't the president send them back to their various states that he even won and get rid of them?
Well, that's up to the people to do, Bill. But you raised a good question. Some of these senators and representatives that are so big on the idea of socialism and they hate Trump so bad, why don't the people in their state recall them?
I don't think they're as stupid as the senators.
Well,
do you?
I don't know. Like the people in Minnesota, you can understand why they elect their representative because Barack Obama flooded Minnesota with Muslim people from Somalia. That was Barack Obama that did that. He took entire villages from Somalia and moved them to Minnesota. And now we have Muslim Congress women from Minnesota.
And they only brought back 13% Christian Muslims.
Yeah, and it raises a question to all of us. It should. Do we want to do the same thing to the United States that Barack Obama did to Minnesota? Do we want to extend that to Texas and Louisiana and Oklahoma? Do we want to do the same thing here? I might remind people, what has the Islamic people been doing to Christians for the last 1,200 years? They've been killing them. And we want to bring those people into this Judeo-Christian society called America.
I already have.
Is that suicidal, or what is that?
Well, it's a little stupid in my opinion, but...
Bill, if you told me that you wanted to shoot me dead with your gun, but you didn't have any ammunition, how stupid would I be to hand you the ammunition? That's what we're doing. Well, if I
didn't have a gun, you don't have anything to worry about.
There you go. Yeah, but I bet you got a gun, Bill.
I bet I do too.
But look at Iran. Iran chants death to America all the time, and Barack Obama gave them $165 billion to create missiles and weapons with. That's no different to me handing you the ammunition to load your gun with. That's what Barack Obama did to Iran. And there's people in this country that still loves Barack Obama. What are you using for brains?
Hope we don't have to draw a line across the U.S. and another civil war.
Well, I hope it don't come to that, Bill, but I fear that it will come to that. I fear that will happen, but I think it's going to be the Christians versus the Satanists, and it's going to be the right versus the left, the north versus, I don't know.
Heck, that may start here in the South in Texas and Dallas.
Yeah, it may start right here. I don't know, Bill. I hope that don't happen, but I fear that it might. I fear that it might.
Well, we got a good president. I just hope nothing happens to him.
Well, we do, but he has got to feel like George S. Custer at the Little Bighorn. He's got to feel surrounded and outnumbered, and Lord have mercy, I don't know how he stands up to it.
He's got better than half the country behind him, so I don't think he's worried too much.
Well, I don't think he is either, and I think he'll win big time in 2020. But he's still got a fight ahead of him, and the news media fight is not the least fight he's got to do. It's amazing how the news media, just for example, he gave a speech in Normandy that was just second to none, a tremendous speech. Well, the news media can't find anything to criticize about his speech, so they criticize the fact that he gave the speech in front of at the cemetery and all that. You know, and every news media outlet said the exact same words. They criticized the monument to the dead folks from Normandy. But if you listen to if you listen to the news media, they all say the exact same words criticizing the position of Donald Trump, not the words of Donald Trump. And what struck me was there's no variation in their criticism. I think somebody must have written a script for them and passed out to ABC, NBC, CBS. They all got the same script and they all read the same words.
Hey, well, Bill, thanks for that call. Hey, what was you telling me about that conversation you were having with that man?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I had a conversation with a fellow Friday, and he was polite and well mannered and seemed like a real good guy. But everything that I brought up about, for example, when I brought up the fact that 75% of black children don't have a father in the home, his reaction was that's not right. I don't believe that. That's not true. When I brought up the fact that that may be caused by the fact that we are paying those mothers to have children without a father in the home. And what is the result of not having a father in the home? What do the kids learn when there's no father there to help teach them? At any rate, everything I brought up like that, he disagreed. He said, well, that can't be true. That's not right. Well, about halfway through the conversation, he just admitted, he said, I'm a socialist. I believe in socialism. And I said, well, then you like what's happening in Venezuela and Cuba and places like that? I was just amazed at how adamant he was that socialism is the way to go. Now, this guy lives in Milam County, Texas, and he believes in socialism. Now, that I left there really not discouraged or disheartened, but just puzzled at how some people's brain works. You know, you have all these examples worldwide of the failure of socialism, and to have someone in Central Texas say he's a socialist and that's the way to go, I was just amazed. Well, I left that situation and came up to Temple and walked into a place that I go to fairly often, and there's an older gentleman in there that's he volunteers to help folks with food and things like that, just does volunteer work. At any rate, we had a little discussion because of the cap I'm wearing, and he kind of brought me back down to earth because the discussion I had with Mike was one of common sense and logic and rational thinking. So I want to publicly thank Mike for bringing me back down to earth after the conversation with the socialists. It's just good to meet and converse with someone with common sense. It reminds me of some great leader, I forgot who it was, might have been Eisenhower or MacArthur. Anyway, they made the statement, I seek only to be a common man. Well, think about that. I seek only to be a common man. I don't seek to be a world-renowned rocket scientist that's never been experienced in anything. We've got leadership today that they are not common men. They didn't come from common men. They came from the classroom somewhere. They've never got on a horse, got throwed, and had to get back on. Well, I am proud of the fact that this old horse called life has throwed me a lot of times. But I got back on.
Anyway, you got Lee on the phone.
Got Lee on the phone. Lee, are you going to help get me straightened out?
Hey, how you doing, Conn?
Well, I'm making it today. I'm doing good. But people keep calling in and getting me stirred up. So here you are. Maybe you can kind of calm me down a little bit, Lee. But I doubt it.
Hey, Conn, I just I heard your last caller, and you talked about what the problem is. There going to be a civil war in this country? I think where the civil war is going to be, I don't think there will be. I think what's going to happen is the mass media needs to change. That's where the problem lies. There's no doubt about it. And you saw a little bit of it turning today. I mean, not today, but this week, with Jim Acosta saying that Trump gave a great speech, and some of the others. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the truth hurts, but he finally admitted it. But Lee, I'm like you. I don't want to see a civil war or anything like that. But I will say that the news media is trying their damnedest to start one. The division between blacks and whites, and it's kind of going away. We're seeing some good black folks and good brown folks kind of get some common sense about them. But you have to admit the news media is promoting that. They're promoting the division.
Well, they've
Yeah,
been been brainwashed.
Yeah, and well, they're trained. All of our lives, even through, Nazi Germany. That's how they masked all those people, was through propaganda, and that's what to change people's ideas, or to have people believe a certain way. You use the mass media, and that's what they've done.
Well, the problem is that people still believe the news is the news, but it's not the news.
Yeah.
It's only a propaganda factory.
Well, it's managed news.
Absolutely.
That's what concerns me. Is it's managed by who and by what? Let me give you an example of managed news. When you hear of a white Christian male killing somebody, boy, it makes news wall to wall for about a week. Now, when you hear about someone in Virginia Beach killing 12 people, you don't hear about what color he was or what his motivation was. Now, my son saw something on Facebook the other day that talked about that, and I'm not going to repeat it because
I think
I don't
it's
know
safe to say
factual.
that Snopes, which is a liberal, fact-checking website, says that it's unproven. So there's not, we haven't been able to substantiate it. But, they did outline that supposedly that he was a Democrat, he was a black man, and that is possibly that he was he had converted to being a Muslim. But, that hasn't been substantiated. But none of this, no, to my knowledge, no pictures per se of him have been shown either, because they want to talk all that down. But if it's a white man and if it's a gun, then that's the way to go after us.
But see, if that is true, and I'm not going to repeat it because I can't verify it, but if that is true, you will never hear about it on the news. Because if it is a fellow of color and he is Islamic, they won't talk about it.
Right. My point is just more in the face of the news and the mass media, because you look at old war films, old films, is that a reflection of what our society was?
Yes.
Or was because what you want to know is, can we believe the old video films, or is that the society, the individuals, us as individuals, reflect what is on TV, or does TV reflect what the individuals are for, like pop culture? What is the truth? Do we influence media, or does media influence us?
Lee,
and I think we've got to get to the point where we influence the media, and I think they're trying to influence us today. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
what is the power of suggestion, Lee? The power of suggestion is very, very strong. And you hear me repeat a lot, but the greatest teaching aid known to mankind is example. And that's why I make the comments about women that have children with no father in the home. How much reward do they get? Well, they get $637 a month, and they can do that times 4. Well, that's $2,500 a month. So the man that fathered those children, he don't need to get a job. He just circulates by every now and then and collects part of the $2,500 a month.
From maybe more than one woman.
And what is the example that is setting? And how will that example spread? And right now we have 1 million more jobs in this country than we have people to fill the jobs. Well, could that be one of the reasons?
Well, is the media reflecting what the people are doing? Or are they just propagandizing and trying to change our way of thinking? It goes down to that. That's really what's happening in this country. And we need to start in, because you look at all the TV shows right now. Are they a reflection of what's really on? You know, like All in the Family back in the day. You know, there were some people like that.
Well,
you know, I'm just saying that, do we reflect the media, or is the media portraying a good reflection of us?
Well, think about, Lee, what do we laugh at it today? What do we laugh at? Do you remember a guy named Red Skelton?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember how funny he was and how much laughter he produced? Now, Red Skelton is no longer here, so what has replaced Red Skelton? It would be somebody at late night show repeating the F word about 27 times in 10 minutes. And people are laughing at somebody who utters the F word or the MF word. What's funny about that? How has that replaced Red Skelton?
Or Tim Conway, or any of those like that.
There was some really funny people, but now they're not funny people. They're just nasty.
I do think it's propaganda now. I think they are telling us what to think, and they're guiding us.
There you go, yeah.
And the old days, I do believe that they were more of a reflection. Those people had to live through the Depression. They had to live through all this stuff. They had to make things themselves. They didn't have all the luxuries that we have now that we take for granted, and that our kids take for granted, and yada yada. They don't. No, very few people that are still alive, other than the old folks, have had to live hard.
Well,
and that's my point, and I'm fixing to go, but that's my point, is that I think she's right, that they're trying to do this, and I think that's where the real war needs to be fought, is in the media. We need to get them on board and start telling the truth.
Well, and
that's where the war is.
It's why I keep saying about Christians. The Christians need to stand up and fight this kind of stuff. When you go to some kind of a meeting and there's 1,000 people there, and this guy gets up and utters the F word or the MF word, and the audience claps and laughs, how many Christians are in that audience clapping and laughing? Why don't they stand up and walk out? Whatever happened to Christians that want to preserve Christianity and this Judeo-Christian society? Did they all die? What happened to them, Lee?
I think that this Donald Trump is exposing it, and I think that this abortion issue is going to really. I think we need to make that front and center now.
I think that put things over the top. I mean, with all those people doing a standing ovation when they passed that law in New York, I think people were sickened so badly that they had enough, and people finally started standing up unitedly and pushing back, finally.
Well, I've got a question for you, Lee. What responsibility do you and I and Tina and people like us, what responsibility do we have to the truth, to freedom and liberty? Don't we have a responsibility to stand up and be counted and defended?
A responsibility to our country.
Yes.
Yeah, and responsibility comes with being honest to oneself and truthful and not lying. And because when you start lying, or you start, that's giving responsibility to the other person. But you're right. And I think the Christian, of course I'm a Christian. I believing that with Christ in your heart, you're going to do what's right. And the people in the audience, Conn, coming back to that point with you, those people, you said how many Christians would walk out? Well, first of all, those people know what they're going into. They're walking into a concert, and they know what they're going to hear. So
Yeah.
before you're not going to have anybody walk out because they know what they're getting, and they know what they're going to feed their souls. So,
Well,
but other than that, y'all take care.
Well, Lee, we appreciate your call, and don't lose the phone number. We're going to go to break, folks, so y'all hang in there. Be right back.
Cap out in California, and the girl just chewed him up and down on YouTube.
I hadn't heard about that. I don't do much on YouTube or whatever.
Well, no, but I thought maybe somebody called in about this because she chewed him up and down for about 15 minutes, and I thought you'd like to know that she got arrested for it.
Oh, well, that's
I
about
thought maybe
typical,
that'd cheer you up a little bit, and maybe this would cheer you up just a little bit more. They are not going to prosecute her because they're deporting her. Turns out she overstayed her visa, so she's on her way back to Brazil.
Oh, there you go.
And now I got to stir you up a little bit.
Okay.
Con, y'all keep calling these people like down in Venezuela and like these Democrats that are wanting to take over health care and the people that are wanting to confiscate guns, y'all keep calling them socialists. They're not socialists. They just appropriating that the same way gay people appropriated the word gay instead of homosexual.
Well, there's another
What
name.
they are is they're communist.
There's another name I'd like to apply to them, but I'm afraid I would get kicked off the air if I tell you what I think about them.
I'm sure you would, but the thing of it is, we need to call these people what they are.
Yeah, they're
if
Marxists.
You're trying to take over an economy, you're a communist. You're not a socialist.
Well, and let's understand that the Communist Party has had rules to take over the United States for years and years. And a lot of those guidelines or rules are being implemented as we speak and have been for years. Just let me give you one quick example, and I'll shut up and let you talk. I think rule number 5 or 6, whatever it was, states that they will get the American people so interested in sex and sports that they will not think about politics. Well, think about where we are today. Just for example, you have a Tea Party meeting in Belton, and there'll be 30 people there. You have a football game in Belton, and there'll be 10,000 people there. What's the difference?
Well, I can't argue with you on that there's a lot more people interested in sports than there is in politics. But one of the reasons why is because it doesn't seem like anybody in either party is interested in doing what the people really want them to do.
Well, they're not interested in freedom or liberty. They're only interested. Another example of what I'm talking about is listen to your radio. How many ads do you hear on the radio now about making men bigger and longer and whatever, and take this pill and take that pill and it'll increase your sex life? We're being bombarded with that and the score of the football game. And
absolutely,
you're not hearing anything about freedom and liberty and keeping America great. You're hearing about sex and sports. So, I'm
going to have to give you a criticism of one of our parties that's supposed to be so conservative and on our side. I looked something up the other day to find out if anybody had ever introduced a constitutional amendment to overturn Roe versus Wade. And do you know when the last time the Right to Life Amendment was proposed in our Congress? 1983.
Yeah.
Now, we've had a Republican Congress and a Republican president at the same time. And I'll grant you, there wasn't much chance of the amendment passing, but couldn't they have at least put it up for a vote so we get everybody down on it?
But when we controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, what did we do?
Nothing.
Nothing. Not a damn
Didn't do anything about abortion
So,
at all.
all I got to say is the dadgum Republicans, I think they all crawled under the bed, stuck their thumb in their mouth, assumed the fetal position, and they're going to stay there until the Democrats give up. Well,
that reminds me a lot of the difference. The difference between the two parties now reminds me a lot of the difference between the radical Muslim and the moderate Muslim. A radical Muslim says, I want you to adopt the Muslim religion today. The moderate Muslim says, okay, I'll give you a couple of days to think about it, and then you got to do it.
Yeah.
They
cut your head
just
off.
lay back and don't do anything while the other party promotes what they're supposed to be against.
Well, we were just talking a minute ago about managed news, and I'm going to lay a lot of the destruction of America and the attempt to destroy America at the foot of the media. Let me give you an example. When the man at the meat plant in Norman, Oklahoma, cut a lady's head off because she wouldn't join Islam, and then he was stopped from killing another woman only by the manager who had a pistol in his desk. That made the news for about, 1 day or 2 days or something.
If that much.
If that much. When the 19-year-old kid used an AR-15 to kill people in Florida, that's all they talked about for a month. When another 19-year-old kid used an AR-15 to defend his mother and father against 3 teenagers with brass knuckles and butcher knives, that was never talked about and is not talked about now. When the barefooted plumber stopped the bad guy in Sutherland Springs, Texas, how long did the news media talk about it? No, they're still condemning the gun, but you never hear about the good guy with a gun. So is that managed? Is that managed
that one in Florida? One of the things that people don't report is this. They reported on all those kids that were anti-gun there. There were at least several kids that got on the air and said that they did not think gun control was the answer to it. And guess what? They talked one time, and that's the last time you heard from them.
Never heard it again.
That's it.
And that's what I'm saying. Give me more examples of managed news. And who is managing the news? Is it the Marxist Party? Is it who is it? Is it George Soros? Is it Tom Steyer? Who is it, or what is it? But there is a organization. There is something that is managing our news. Because look at the news media. Look at ABC, CBS, all of them. They all say the same thing. Like their criticism of Donald Trump. You can just listen to all of them. They all use the exact same words. It's like they're reading from a script. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Who is producing the script? Where does it come from?
If I had to guess, I'd say it's the corporations that own all of them. Because when you get down to it, used to be you had a bunch of independent newspapers, you had a bunch of independent TV stations that had news on, but you don't have that anymore. They've all been bought up by a bunch of big media corporations, and at this point, you get one voice because that's the corporation's voice.
Well,
now, who owns the corporation? Who knows?
See, I am big on statistics, I guess. But, if I went to play poker, I probably would not draw to an inside straight flush. I probably wouldn't do it because the odds are so great against you doing that. Okay, what are the odds of every news media outlet saying the same words about the same subject at the same time? What are the odds of that happening naturally? They're about 97 million to 1.
Absolutely.
So can we legitimately call this managed news? Can we really call it perestroika, just like they did in Russia, otherwise called propaganda? Is that what it is?
That's it. You hit it right on the head when you said mostly what it is propaganda.
Yeah.
Because even if they report it, it's not the facts that you report, it's the facts that you leave out. One of the religions, Christian religions, has what they call sins of commission and sins of omission.
Amen.
Well,
Absolutely.
the news media is guilty of the sins of omission.
Yes.
They leave out the important parts and put in the parts that support whatever point they want to get across.
Exactly. So, and I'm just saying, who's behind all this? And I don't want to get off into conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff, but this is the odds of this happening is about 1,000,000 to 1. Somebody is causing this to happen. So
I can't tell you who it is, but if I had to guess, I'd be willing to bet that whoever it is probably, his initials are probably George Soros.
Yeah, yeah.
Or at least he's leading the charge with it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I just, well, I better shut up before I tell you what I think about George Soros. And
trust me, it's better than what I think, I'm sure. But I need to get going. The one thing I want y'all to do, though, is start telling people that these people are communists. Socialist is a nice, soft-sounding word, just like calling people that are lesbians or homosexuals, calling them gay. It just makes it sound so nice, but it ain't the truth.
We need to understand that the definition of extreme socialism is communism.
If you go all the way to the left, you get to communism.
Yeah, and, you know, you can either follow God or you can follow Satan. And if you believe that this socialist, communist, Marxist movement is God's plan, you better wake up and smell the coffee. Well, see, now you done got me mixed up, started again. Okay, we appreciate you call. Don't lose the phone number. And,
I won't.
And by the way, if you do want to help the show, the phone number to call is 300-1885. So, you know, we're going to have a little bit of help in order to keep this show on the air. But that is the phone number to call is 300-1885.
We also have these gorgeous red Trump caps that are, they say, they're embroidered. And they say, Trump, make America great again, 2020. They're also in 3D. They have Trump going vertically and horizontally. They have Trump's signature embroidered on the brim, and it says 45th president on them. They're really nice hats. They're almost impossible to come by. And we have just a few left. We have maybe six or seven left of these red ones, and I think we have two pinks. And the reds are 35 and the pinks are 30, and those are part of our fundraiser to help keep the show on the air. So if you're interested in those caps, let us know at 254-300-1885, or you can message us on Facebook at Common Sense Con, and we also have our GoFundMe page on Common Sense Con. So by all means, you know, give us a buzz. If you have a few dollars you want to donate to the show, or if you'd like to become a sponsor, we can help you do that.